What's up guys, Axis here, bringing you the second part of my full intro tutorial, and today we are going to be working inside After Effects, which is a pretty awesome program, compositing program, where you can add stocks, effects, and that's basically where I do all my post-production stuff, omitting like the sound effects part, which will be done in Premiere, but a lot of you can do it in other programs like Sony Vegas and stuff. But anyway, I just want to thank all you guys. This has been up for literally like half a day, and it's already skyrocketed to like 82 likes. There's so much support in this video, and I really can't thank all of you enough for all of the support. So yeah, hopefully I can get this video done before the 100 likes happens. I didn't expect it to ever go up that quickly. But anyway, let's get right into the After Effects part. First up, just open up After Effects and you'll be met with this here, just in your render queue. First off, just do Control N, Command M, N, I mean, if you're on Mac. And then just, I'm going to be working in a 720 composition, which is 1280 by 720. In Cinema 4D, if you rendered this in 1080 or 4K, if you rendered in 4K, I don't know why you would, unless you're working for a cinema company or something, I don't know, studio, but I don't know why you'd be watching my tutorials, to be honest with you. So yeah, if you followed that tutorial step by step, you would have seen that I rendered it in 720. We're going to be going for 30 frames per second, and I did 12 seconds. If you want to change this to whatever, just change this to like 5 or whatever you rendered. And background color is black, but you can obviously add a solid or whatever you want as well for the backing if you accidentally put it on red or something. So yeah, that's basically all you have to do. So just create your composition, and this is your timeline here. Hopefully you already can have a standard knowledge of After Effects, but first off, we're just going to import our footage. So do Control I, and I'm going to import the Vio intro that I did, because I was going to render the the one that I did for the tutorial, but my Cinema 4D crashed. So yeah. Anyway, basically the whole process of doing this is the same, apart from it's gonna just be a different scene. So once you've got this, you're just gonna press OK. If this doesn't appear, then you probably have used something that already has alpha channels enabled by default, like a PNG, but TIFF has the highest resolution and it looks the best, so that's why I use TIFF. So first off, we're going to add some motion blur, and you have a built-in motion blur which only works if you have animation that's happening or you've made inside After Effects. So you're going to need a plugin. I'm using Real Smart Motion Blur. I'm pretty sure you can get a trial, and you don't get all the features for around 30 days, but you get, it's pretty decent if you want to try it out, but it is paid. So just drag that on. If you've got the pro version, drag that on to your footage. I'm just going to call this intro, and to rename you just have to press enter if you didn't know that. And on here I'm going to change the blur amount to 1, and then once we go through this, you can see there is motion blur being created through the movements, and if I just disable this, you can see that it's going to disappear. So that's basically how I start it off. And now I'm probably just going to add a background just to be safe. Well, I might want to add some background effects and stuff onto this, so just do Control I to create a solid, and I'm going to create a black solid. It doesn't have to be any certain color, but just press OK. Bring this down, and I'm going to name this BG, background. And then I'm going to grab a ramp from the effects and presets. If you don't have this window, just go into window, add it here. Or in effect, you have all these effects arranged into folders, and the ramp effect will be in color correction, if you're wondering. So just drag ramp onto here, and as you can see, it's created a gradient into the background. So we don't really want, well, we could use this, but I don't know if you're doing a black and white intro, go for it. But I'm gonna be doing purple intro, obviously. So I'm just gonna use the color picker to pick kind of a certain purple here, and then this blend with original. This will blend with the original solid. So remember when you were creating your solid, if you created a black one, it will blend it into black. If you created a red one, it will blend it into red. So if you want to change this, just do Control Shift and Y, which will edit the solid, and then I could change this to a red if I wanted to, just to demonstrate. And if I do blend with original, it will blend with a red, kind of a weird gradient. Looks like iOS 7 or something. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep this on black. So hopefully that makes sense. And we could just mess about with some of the effects in here. We have options like radio ramp, which is like, as you can see if I move this over here, this is one color, and then this is the second part of the ramp. And if I move these two closer together, see this is a black color here, I can create some pretty cool effects with this. You might actually want to create this black and then this one purple. Probably make more sense because the black one fills up less of the scene and it doesn't look as weird. I don't know. Then once you move these apart, it will kind of scale the purple part up. I'm just going to blend this a bit. You can obviously press T for opacity if you wanted to just change the whole opacity of this background. But yeah, that's basically what I do with the background. I might blend this a bit more. I don't really want it to be too overpowering. Now we could get into color correction, and you can create an adjustment layer with Control Alt and Y. I'm going to call this CC, and then what I'm going to be using is a plugin called Magic Bullet Looks and the name on it is After Effects is Looks. It's created by Red Giants, an amazing company for effects. We do shine, particular, a bunch of other cool stuff. With particular, you can create smoke effects. You could even add smoke to this, but I'm not going to be doing this in this tutorial. Might leave it for tips and tricks or something. But once you've got your CC, just go into Edit on Looks, and then it should open up a new window. Here we go. It should load up a little preview. If you go back to After Effects by an accident, it will say not responding. Don't worry, your After Effects hasn't actually crashed. It's just because you're opening like another program inside of it. So I'm not gonna use any like template ones that I have or anything. I'm just gonna put some curves on. You can either put these on anything really. It doesn't really affect where you put it. I think this is post. This is like different parts of the camera, but we don't have a 3D scene or anything, so it doesn't matter. So I'm going to just do a simple curves adjustment, crush the blacks, and that's not a racist term. Okay, color correction. And then you can just raise up the high points here. And also, if you go into these different ones, you can see we have an RGB configuration, as in any curves. There's curves built into After Effects if you don't have Magic Bullet Looks or don't want to get it. And you can just see if I lower this, it's going to get rid of the blues. But if I raise it up, it's going to add some of the more blues into there, into a purple, make it more of a dark blue than a purple. I don't know why I'd add green, but you can add green. Might look a bit nice if you have a green setup or you have a yellow setup. It might kind of go complement each other quite well. But I'm gonna add a 3 color Rista. Yeah, and then just put these. I'm gonna put this one on blue, this one on blue as well, the mid-tone, and then on the shadow I'm gonna put this into a kind of orangey tan. And as you can see, that kind of just makes the colors a lot darker. Let's look basically a lot of these effects can be messed around with, and you can basically do whatever you want with it. But I'm going to go into lens and then go into vignette, and I'm going to turn down the strength of this. You see these sides, you can stretch these out, put them in, make it so that it's kind of focused on the lettering, whatever you want to do, whatever looks good. And then you can also add an edge softness, which I like to do because it kind of focuses on the what you really want to look at in the composition. You don't want to really look at this. I don't know, maybe if you wanted to like a kind of depth of field thing, you could put it here. In fact, that looks pretty nice. So in the settings, go to blur size. You can either turn this down a bit. Also, the quality will make it look less blurry, make it look a bit clearer. And you can turn up the blur size, and it'll kind of match what it was originally. But I like to keep the quality around 4 or 5. I don't really believe it looks that good when you put it all the way up to the top. So yeah. So just grab, I'm going to next grab a lens distortion. I've not really seen many people use this, but I find that if you put this all the way down on the distortion, you can create kind of like a CC lens effect, but I actually think it looks quite a bit better. Don't obviously put it up too high, it looks really weird now. So put it down a bit lower. Just whatever matches your scene. Also, if your scene like you have like loose ends on like bits of objects, this will kind of stretch them out and make it look like it fills the whole scene. So yeah, looks pretty nice. Haze flare as well, that'll brighten things up. It's gonna add some little hazy lines over here. I'll turn reflections off so it's not so overpowering. And just mess about with this. This is really just trial and error for color correction. Shutter Shriek is pretty good on some things, but it kind of just looks like a really weird dreamy scene. Don't know. If you wanted to do it, you can. It looks alright in this, I think. Normally with really bright colours it will match, but if you just have an object and nothing around it, it looks a bit out of place. Let's look into some other things here. This here. This is really good. If you it just kind of adds a 3D kind of popping out effect. So if I increase this, it's going to make it a bit more purple, as you can see. And if I, for example, increase this, it'll probably make it yellow. Yeah, blue, and then this way, yeah, it's just a blue and yellow. So yeah. If there's jagged edges, it will look very weird because it just kind of looks like it's a duplicated version of it in a different color. But yeah, this looks a bit overpowering. I might just lower this a bit. Just really subtle things can make your intros really stand out. Contrast. Yeah, no. If your scene was kind of dull, you might want to add that, but it's not really something I'd normally add. If your scene was really like dark, add some exposure and change the stops to 1. Brighten up around the sides. I don't know if I really want to use it though. My intro isn't really that dark apart from the logo. Pop as well. I just don't want to make this a color correction tutorial, but I feel like color correction really adds to your intro and makes it like pop out. Just if you don't have color correction, it looks really flat unless your lights are really outstanding. But normally people don't bother that much about lights compared to everything else. I think that color correction just kind of makes everything different. Everything would look kind of plain without all the color correction. Because I've seen intros without it. I used to do intros without color correction, and really once you start using color correction, or even the tools built into your editor or whatever, it can really make your intros look worlds better. So once you finish with that, just press finish, and as you can see, we have looks like a different intro. It's not as dark a color correction as I originally had. I kind of like this one a bit more, to be honest with you. But now, if you remember in the original, or if you watched it, you'll remember that I had a flare at the side, and flares are a really big part of intros. Well, a part of mine at least. So to do flares, there is a built-in flare generator, but I don't know. I'm gonna create a solid just to demonstrate what this looks like. I mean, what's happened? Yeah, so this is probably why I don't use it. For some reason, it's creating some weird lines at the side. I'll put this on screen so you can actually see it in the scene. You can't really do much with it. It's just a flare, you know. You can't change the color. You can't change like the objects in it, and it's just not really good at all. But another paid plugin, I know, but really After Effects on its own is very good for things like films, editing films. If you want to just add some explosions that you found in a pack, you know, it's really good. But without any plugins, you're not gonna be able to make your intros look like amazing. I'm not saying mine are amazing at all, but a lot of these plugins are just really good. So I'm gonna go and add this plugin called Optical Flares by an amazing company called Video Copilot, and they do some awesome plugins. They have a sound effects pack, and I know a lot of people are looking for sounds. A lot of their stuff is quite expensive, but really this is some really like studios use optical flares, so use it in like Iron Man, whatever. It just really makes everything look amazing. Andrew Kramer, the guy that created Video Copilot, actually does like titles, does movies and stuff with J.J. Abrams, and it's just really awesome that he actually puts stuff up and shows people what he does. But basically what I do with optical flares is I go into options, and then if you go clear all, press OK, it will clear all the flares in here. And if you've bought some of his packs that go with optical flares, you'll have stuff in here. But I've just got the standard object, so you can actually make one. So I'm just gonna make one, which is normally what I do. I just add a shimmer. It's normally the first flare I add, and then you change the scale to around 400, and you can put this below your intro, like below the scene here, and then put this underneath this color correction, which will make it blend a bit better. Maybe add some color to it. I'm gonna use a color picker again. And then if I change this up. Oh, and also once you create this, then it's actually going to be a black solid. So if you're wondering, here it will say on black. You can change this to transparent or over original. On transparent will basically put the blending mode onto screen, and screens are a really good blending mode, but it doesn't really add anything. I'd recommend using like add for a flare, or I personally use linear dodge, which just adds a bit more light to it and it looks a bit more realistic, in my opinion. Obviously this looks really saturated, but you know, I might just go and alter some of the stuff. You can I'm gonna add a saturation here and turn down the saturation a little bit so it doesn't look so violety and bright. So yeah, there we go. And then once I go through this, you can see this looks pretty nice already. So once I've done this, I'm just gonna grab my flare, and I'm gonna show you some pretty cool stuff you can do with this. I'm gonna add a flicker first, I think. I'll probably change this to around 20 and the amount 20. And if I solo this, I'll just be able to demonstrate this a bit better because it won't be so much lag. You can see So this is going to flicker over time. It's not going to be crazy like it is now. But yeah. Also, alt clicking on time evolution, you're going to put in a script here, which is time asterisk 150. And if I just solo this again, you can see it's going to animate over the whole entire composition. And if you don't like it going that fast, you can put this on 25, 50. That looks quite nice. So if I go to this point here, where it's just about to zoom in, we can do some keyframing. And I'm just going to put all this, the brightness down to 0. I'm going to press the keyframe. And then if you go down to your optical flares and press U, you can see that this bottom part expands, and you're going to see a keyframe here. Hopefully you know about keyframes. If you're not, if you don't know, yeah. Basically, keyframes are important. So we just go to the part where you want your flare to come in, which is around here for me. And if you just change this, unlike Cinema 4D, once you change something, it's automatically going to keyframe it for you. You can delete the keyframe, which I'm not going to do obviously, if you don't like it. And just to make it look a bit more fluid, you can go into Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease In, which is Shift F9, which is going to make this kind of a bit more spread out over that time instead of sudden. You don't really see that flare, but I kind of like it. And now I'm just going to add some more flares, really. A lot of it's kind of, don't know, I think flares are really nice. And adding like little flares to the sides, make it look really nice. I'm just going to use this flare called Glow. I'm going to put the blending mode on linear dodge. I will probably make this like a light purple, lilac-y kind of thing. Put this up here. Nah, it doesn't really go with the scene. Wait, actually, remember to keep putting this under the color correction so it matches your scene a little better. So I'm going to put this here. As you can see, since I've got streaks on, it's going to kind of reflect onto the bottom of the scene, which is kind of nice. And if I just boost this up, you can see it's going to brighten up the whole scene. And adding little flares like these will really make your intro just subtly better. And you don't really notice it, but yeah, you just take it for granted when you watch it, obviously, but it really just adds to your whole scene. So at one point you can just hear or something. I'm gonna put this at 30 and then go over a couple frames, a couple seconds, boost this up to like 100 or something. And this is kind of a perfect time, because once this logo is passing by, you're kind of focusing on the logo and not the flare. Unless you obviously put it up so high that it fills the whole scene and makes it white, which you probably shouldn't do. I mean, if that's your thing, do it. So after that, I'm just going to go a couple more frames forward and then switch this. I'll put it on like 30 or something. I'm going to easy ease that out with Shift F9, and I think it's Control Shift F9 for, yeah, easy ease out if you wanted it. All these things are really good. So as you can see, so fair plot goes in and then out over that little time there. Okay, I'm gonna try not make this tutorial all about adding flares to your scene, even though it is important. But now, hopefully you've got the gist of this whole thing, adding flares and everything. So hopefully you can just keep adding flares, make your intros look crazy with all the flares. But I'm going to be doing some blur stuff now. You can never have enough blur. Just well, I mean, you can, but I didn't really learn that until, you know, a while after me intros. So I'm just going to create a mask, and if you don't know what a mask is, it's up here, rectangle tool. If you hold, it's kind of like in Cinema 4D when you're going to get the extrusion. Let's go here, click one, and go. So once you've got that, I'm just going to boost up this Gaussian blur. I didn't even say where to go. Okay, right, Gaussian blur. It's one of the blurs. If you go into effect, I need to make sure this is selected, and then blur and sharpen, you've got a bunch of these. If you have worked in Photoshop before, you probably know about some of these. Gaussian blurs in it, radial blur, which you can make it look like it's a spinny blur, or you can make it a zoomy blur. I'm just going to use a standard Gaussian blur. I think it looks the best. And I'm just going to keep it on horizontal and vertical. If you wanted to make the blur just go onto the x-axis, then horizontal, or y-axis is vertical. And I'm just going to get this adjustment layer that I created again, and then I'm going to press F to bring up the properties of the mask. Well, the properties of one part of it. If you press MM, keep pressing M basically until you get that. You should see every property of it. And over time, I'm just going to go to the mask path and keyframe it. Go to about here, and then if you double click on one of the edges, you can bring this all the way down. It's kind of like the bull in Cinema 4D. If you don't know what a bull is, kind of like a mask, hide stuff. Just think of it as that. And then I'm going to do Shift F9 to make that an easy in keyframe, and then over time, if I click this little button, it will display the mask if it's not displaying already. You can see that this is going to slowly move down the screen, and logo comes in, logo stuff happens. This scene's a bit too long. I need to, if you press N and B, well, B is the beginning and N is the end. So once you've done that, I'm going to do trim to comp work area. If you right click, and then that option will come up. If you've made like if you've accidentally made it too long, or you can press Control K, which will bring up the composition settings. But I'm just kind of rambling on right now. Ooh, oh my god. Okay. So that's dragged on a while. You're probably all asleep. Right, so once this is all done, we can kind of get into the end of this. I'm just going to get all this, press Control A, right click, pre-compose, okay. Once you've done this, press S for scale, go to 102. You can obviously make it bigger, but you don't want to compromise quality here. What I'm going to add here is some wiggle for the screen. So I'm just going to go to the position. I might have done a tutorial on this, I can't remember. But for those of you who have not watched that, if it actually exists, then this is just reminding you guys. So then press P, which will bring up position, and keyframe the first frame of your whole project, go to the end, and then this button here will add or remove a keyframe. Don't click this one because that will delete all your keyframes, and that will be good. And now if you do this, it's kind of like you can select both these keyframes here. Once I've done that, just go into Wiggler, and once again, if you don't have this tab, it should be here. If not, don't know. Try and help you if it's not there, but I'm sure it is if you can't actually see it. So in here it looks really annoying and weird, but basically you don't really need to worry about any of this. I have no idea what this does. I know this just changes kind of how the wiggle's gonna work, and this, if you want to make this move up and down like on the y-axis or horizontally on the x-axis, do that. Or if you wanted to make all the movements exactly the same, just click that. But I'm going to do all independently because you don't want it to look like too right. You don't want to make it look perfect. So changing magnitude and frequency, it's just kind of experimental. You don't want to turn up too high. I normally, for a kind of project like this, I will put it on 4, and 7, which will make the screen just kind of shake quite a bit actually, and I think I really like makes the motion look a lot better. Don't know why. It just kind of looks like a real life scene, to be honest with you. You can get plugins that will do this for you, but I don't really like them because they make your scene zoom all the way in, just so that they can do their motion blur. But I found that this works. If you go, I'll show you what this looks like. If you keep this scale on 100, you can already see that there's going to be black borders and it doesn't look nice. So, I mean, 101 might work, but 102 just to be safe. You don't want to just go and send this to a client or do a team entry and then realize that there's like weird ass black boxes at the side. And then finally, you can add some letterboxing to it if you want to. I'm gonna add, where is it? Pretty sure I've had it in my pack, yes. You can find these online, but I just put it in my pack because I use them all the time. And really you could do this in After Effects if you wanted to, but I just find it a lot quicker to just add it yourself. And now it kind of gives the kind of like a film vibe thing, you know. Even in some films they have the black bars that are all the way in here and you can only see like a tiny gap in like music videos and stuff. But you wouldn't really want to do that because you wouldn't be able to see half the logo. So yeah, it just adds to it. Remember to put this on over the pre-composition, because if you don't, it is going to add the wiggle to that, and that won't look, well, it will look kind of weird actually, and you have color correction on it and stuff. So once you've done this, I'm pretty sure it's Control Shift and slash, but I have like a macro on it on my mouse, and then it'll bring up the render queue. Or if you go into composition, I've forgotten how to actually do it. Add to render queue. I've changed my layout so it does Control M, which matches the Premiere layout, which is Control M2. So once you brought out this, then you can just click on here, and by default mine's on H.264, which is an extension for MP4, but you don't really need to worry about that. It's just a really good codec which doesn't really compress it all that much, and it works really good for me. So if you're low on space, use Windows Media or WMV. I wouldn't really use anything else, to be honest with you. I might use QuickTime if you wanted to have a transparent background in a video, but I've never really needed to use that. So once you've got that, go into Format Options and then Target Bitrate. I'll normally turn this up to 240. But a normal like camcorder would probably go at 30, and then the max would probably be around, I don't know, 35 or something. I don't know, but you know, full quality because I can. So once you've done that, if you've added your sound effects in here or added your song, keep this checked, and that's actually a really good quality. You don't have to have it that high. You could have it at 44. I think that's CD quality, that's studio quality. I don't know why I'm doing all this technical stuff, but you know, just uncheck that if you've not added your sound effects, and then here is where you'll save it. Just name it whatever you want, and then press render, and then over this time it will start rendering. And if you press caps lock, it will stop the animation thing. See, if I press it again, it will show you the preview. And the reason why you'd want to do this is because it saves a ton of RAM, and if your PC's short on RAM, it would save time. Also, if you've got an awesome PC, whatever, if you press it off, it's going to save time as well. It probably won't save like a noticeable amount, but I just do it because I've always done it. So yeah, that's basically all I wanted to do for this After Effects tutorial. I hope you guys all enjoyed. I know I've been rambling on for probably like 35 minutes about color correction and flares, but hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully it was all worth it, and if you want to send me some of the stuff you get out of this, then go for it. I really like to see all this stuff that you guys are making. Just send it to me, put it in the comments, tweet it at me, whatever you want to do. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. Bye.